well, enough yapping from the past. Let's talk about the present, or even better, talk about the future. However, I'm not sure how good of a future it is, because yesterday they announced a card called Protective Stone Gardenscaping from Chaos Origins, and this is going to be a fun one, so buckle up. It is a continuous trap card. We love those. Continuous trap card. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. While you have 5 cards in your spell trap zone, any battle damage either player takes is halved. Also, once per turn, you can activate a continuous trap the turn it was set. During the standby phase, you can reveal 5 continuous traps with different names in your deck. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to set. Also, shuffle the rest back into the deck. Alright, so, understandably so, people have already started experimenting with ideas on what you could do with this card, but I mean, the most obvious thing is that you can reveal a lot of cards that are limited to 1, which most notably goes in match, Rivalry of Warlords, Skill Drain, Anti-Spell Fragrance, and There Can Be Only One is a total of exactly 5 cards. But there's also other fun stuff in the mix, like Macrocosmos or whatever. And I want to say one thing up front, okay? I want to say one thing up front. I don't believe that this card is good, okay? I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's a problem because it's powerful. Because this is basically exclusively usable in stun. In stun, however, I do think it's a playable card, and people might end up deciding to play it in stun. In general, I'm not sure if this is going to make stun significantly better, or if I would necessarily even say that this card is the problem when, like, it only searches other problematic cards, right? So those are all valid points. At the end of the day, however, I do read this card and I ask myself the question, why? What is the purpose of this card? Because once again, we do run into this problem occasionally when we look at new Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which is that I read my least favorite cards to react to, my least favorite cards to read are the cards where I read them and I think to myself, God, I hope this never sees play. That is, in my opinion, the most problematic kind of card design, is when the best case scenario is for the card to never see play. Because everything about this card just screams miserable, okay? So I'm questioning, why do we even waste a slot in Chaos Origin on cards like this? Like this, in my opinion, this design is worse than even an unusable pack filler. Like, an unusable pack filler is unnecessary, and I don't really love when they make cards that are just terrible. But even worse is a card that, like, if it ever sees play, it's gonna be miserable, right? So think of pack fillers what you will, but I think this is something that they just shouldn't do, right? I genuinely, I think it boggles my mind, because we talked about this when we read the trap hole trap on Saturday, of them being like unwilling to make any good trap cards that are not floodgates or like turn skips or whatever, right? Lingering floodgates. And this is just another example of this. Like, this slot in Chaos Origin could have been a nice, fun, generic trap card. Maybe it would have been bad. Maybe it would have been bad, but at least it wouldn't have been toxic. So, I don't know. It was disappointing. Now, I don't know if there's any cool ways to use this card. I would just say that, like, the unfortunate reality with cards like this is that all of the fair uses for these cards, they're just going to be bad because they are trap cards. Like, yeah, you can use this card in Argo Stars. Yeah, you can use this card in Eldritch, but both of those decks are very, very far away from being meta viable at the moment. Both Eldritch and Argo Stars are not good decks in Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment, and this card will not change that, because it's going to be an unsearchable continuous trap in those decks. Like, yes, it does give you really good grind game in those decks, which could be a thing, but honestly, those decks, their problem is not grind game. Eldritch already has pretty solid grind game, but the problem is that they're trap decks and they will not participate in the game when they're going second. And this card does not change that. The only value that this card provides for those decks is like easier access to Rivalry, Gozen, Skill Drain, and so on and so forth, which, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why from a game design perspective, why we're we're jumping through all the hoops to limit all these cards, which once again, they should be banned and not limited, but at least they're not at 3, I suppose, is the one positive thing you can say. So they're all at 1 because we recognize, hey, these cards are problematic, these cards are not fun, these cards are toxic, and then we make a card that searches them. Which is pretty annoying. Like, yeah, you can't consistently find the one that you want because you do get a random one. So like, let's say you're playing against a matchup where rivalry is auto win and the other ones aren't that great. But like, honestly, rivalry, like for most matchups, the thing is like rivalry goes in or there can be only one. One of the 3 is going to be really good against basically any Yu-Gi-Oh deck, right? If your opponent is all one type, then you want there can be only one. You don't want rivalry. If your opponent is different types, then there can be only one is broken. Then rivalry is broken and there can be only one is bad, and so on and so forth, right? So what you can do, and skill drain and anti-spell are good against basically everything. So what you can do is you can reveal anti-spell, skill drain, and then rivalry goes and there can be only one, which you basically always have 3 out of 5, which is a 60% chance to get a really broken floodgate for the matchup, right? Yeah, and then also you add Macrocosmos to the mix if you want to, depending on the matchup, and so it's just disgusting. And the problem is that it's gonna give you more in future turns, right? So like once this card resolves, and this is why I think it could genuinely see play in stun decks, like you activate this card, you get rivalry. Your opponent can't kill you because you have rivalry and they can't properly play, even if they can play a little bit. But then on the next standby phase, you get another one. And then you have another shot at finding skill drain or whatever, right? And it's just, man, I don't know. Lots of yapping just to say I do not think cards like this should have been printed or should ever be printed if they're supporting a very toxic group of cards. And even if it ends up being bad, which is my hope at the moment, I still think it's disappointing to see stuff like that.